Welcome to today's business success conversation with me, Michael Carthy from Carthy Accountants, helping you get the business you want. As always, today I am joined by Lucy, Edith, and Adam, the CRMs from Carthy Accountants. And today we're going to be talking about problems that keep business owners awake at night and how to solve them, mainly by actually talking to people. Today we're talking about business owners and what keeps them up at night. I know we're generalizing here with what keeps you up at night, but basically the worries business owners have. And then I'd like to go into how they can be helped, especially from our point of view, from an accountancy point of view, and from business advice point of view. I think as a business owner, I can definitely speak from experience of things that have kept me awake in the past. We can talk about, problematic team members. We can talk about hitting the payroll costs when you've had a particularly busy month or a particularly quiet month, and the cash flow isn't necessarily there. There's lots of things that do keep business owners awake at night, and I'll come around to all of you, obviously, from speaking to clients. I think one thing I constantly try and instill on you guys is to feel that, I think pressure is the wrong expression, but to take ownership of what it feels like to be a business owner. And for me, remember, it's all our business. That's a really important one for me, which we can do going forward. But, let's look at clients you've worked with. A recent example for you, Edith, of something that's been keeping a client awake at night.
And for them, it was they hadn't planned for their tax. So their cash flow has been working fine throughout the year. They've not really had many concerns. And then suddenly they've realised they haven't saved for their corporation tax. And the corporation tax is due in a month and they haven't got a chance to be able to save for it in time. So for them, it's very much not having forward planning was keeping them up at night.
Yeah, absolutely. An awful one, really. And again, on a different conversation, we'll talk about finance options and that sort of thing, and why it's actually not a bad thing to have finance within a business. But absolutely. Adam.
Yeah, most recently, a client was saying to me how they work in 10, 12-hour days and getting to the end of the week working in the business, and then finding the weekends are spent doing the admin, doing the accountancy, bookkeeping, and really just not having any time to themselves. So as you can imagine, that builds up over time, and stress and worry, and things drop and lapse. And yeah, that's something, accountants can help out with and take that stress and hassle away.
I think mine's similar to Edith's, but leading more so into the VAT side of things, and people not planning for that VAT bill each quarter, not realising, 20% or a sixth of their income they're receiving is actually not theirs and it's for HMRC. But also as well, the deadline that comes with VAT. Every quarter, we have that deadline a month and 7 days after quarter end. It's having somebody in the background that can help you, an accountant can help you manage that deadline, and it's something you don't have to worry about because somebody's got there's going to back you up there.
I tell you what comes out of this for me is a lot of it's failure to plan is actually a lot of what keeps people up at night. I know there are times where things are out of our control, but things like not having saved your VAT to one side, that's because you haven't planned. And yes, you might start thinking, well, how am I going to pay this and whatever? And it's never useful when you do have an accountant who lets you know the day before this is your VAT bill when you've entrusted them to do it. But as a business owner, that's kind of your responsibility to be, chasing them up and making sure they are getting it to you. So a lot of it is about planning, and a lot of that we instill into our clients is planning. I always recommend, if you're on online banks nowadays, you can have pots within your banks. Otherwise, you have separate accounts. We do it the old school way. We have a corporation tax account and we have a VAT account. And we remember that whatever money comes in, 20% can go into one, 25% can go into another. It's really important for us that we do that. So as I said before, it's really lonely at the top as a business owner, and it's really good to have someone that you can use as a sounding board and to talk to. I mean, I'm very lucky within Carthy Accountants. I've got Tessa on the board with me as well, so we can make decisions together. But I do find we work with a lot of clients who will use us as that sounding board. So, when a client comes in telling you the reasons they can't sleep, what sort of advice can we give to them? And let's try and be generic, because it is normally generic. There are so many different reasons. Yes, we could have people haven't saved enough of that. The orders aren't coming in that people are expecting, etc., etc. But generically, what advice can we tell people when they're coming in not sleeping?
I think it depends on, like you say, the worry they have and tailoring that advice to their specific worries, but also how they can utilize their resources to help them with that, whether that's other team members they have or it's external accountants, other advisors. It's helping them realize it's not all on them sometimes as well, and who can deal with that issue.
Yeah, yeah. I think I really do agree. I think the fact is, we go back to the old adage of keep doing what you've always done and you'll keep getting what you've always got. And for instance, I'll go back to, if orders are not coming in and you just sit there waiting, they're not going to just start coming in. So again, having that third party going, well, hang on a minute, what are you doing differently? And a lot of people, unknowingly, especially when they're in the business constantly, will go, well, I'm just doing my job. But it's not a job, it's a business. You've got to do something to get those sales up. You've got to do something to make sure you save your money and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I recently had a client that received a HMRC letter, and what they didn't realize was it was an automated letter. It was a, compliance check, standard, and there was nothing to worry about. But the client had told me they'd been sat on it for a week and then spoke to me, worried it kept them up at night because they didn't realize there was nothing to worry about.
Go back to head in the sand. We've said it so many times. Clients will if there is a problem, they will bury their head in the sand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, the first thing when I see a client's getting worried and losing sleep, we'll have a reality check with them.
Yeah.
And actually, what will feel massive to them, and everyone feels how they feel. It's not diminishing how they're feeling, but it's making sure that they've aligned how they're feeling to actually the reality. So just like you said there, a letter from HMRC to them is really scary, because to them HMRC is this big scary body. But if they'd have come and spoken to us the day of receiving that, we'd have been able to go like, right, that's fine. These are the steps we need to do, very methodical, and achieve the results that need to be achieved. It's very much sharing your problems will often mean that one of us will know a solution.
Absolutely. And I mean, the thing with this is where we look at Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Successful People and paradigms. So I've had it where a client's come in, they've had the most worried look on their face because they're going to have to get a £12,000 payment plan with HMRC. They can't believe it. They think it's the worst thing ever. And I tell them, well, yesterday I dealt with a £400,000 payment plan. So really, in the scheme of things, but the scheme doesn't matter to them. It's their paradigm. This is my world. My business is now useless because I've got this payment plan.
I think it's important that the clients realise that we're not belittling them because their problem is their problem.
We're validating.
We're validating it, but we are, as I've said, just giving them that little comparative to actually realise that the world isn't necessarily ending, and it is coming and talking. We talk a lot about the 3 freedoms, and that's what we focus on in a lot of the advisory that the two of you do. And it's trying to align what their problems are, and it will always fall to one of those 3 freedoms, will it not?
Yeah, it is providing them perspective and clarity, and having an external body like an accountant ourselves come just talk to them, vent if they need to, or just give them space. It really does, support them.
Absolutely. When you say vent and listen, I can quite often go into a meeting, say to a client, how are things? And I won't say a word for 50 minutes because they'll talk. And a lot of the time, they'll almost talk themselves to the right answer. We're just there to give them a nudge in the right direction. And again, I like the fact, we're not belittling your situation. We're not saying it shouldn't keep you up. There are things that keep me up at night that in the grand scheme of things, no, not really important, but to me it is. Can't think off the top of my head, but real small things. I haven't done that one email I should have done. So in my head, catastrophizing, that client who I should have emailed 2 hours ago and I haven't emailed suddenly is going to tell everyone how useless I am. And suddenly everyone's going to leave. The team won't like me anymore and I'll be on the streets. And, there's nothing we can do about people's heads when they go that way. It's just what happens. But putting it in some form of context to them to say, yes, you having to get a 12 grand one, but we've just dealt with a £400,000 one, and HMRC were fine with that. Because again, part of their worry will be, I'm not going to get this. Well, you look at people who go for finance and they need 10 grand and we're never going to get it. And, I know it's all on the figures and stuff, but the fact is, you've just, got finance for someone else who's got a lot worse balance sheet and they just had a lot more money. It is all about perspective. We've looked at various things that can keep clients awake. We've said that, do you know what? Don't bury your head. Come and talk to us and we can help sort it. So, best advice to a client who can't sleep.
Yep, come and talk to us. Tell us your worries and we'll give you perspective, clarity, and help you out as best as we can.
Brilliant. Edith?
Get it off your chest. Problems shared is problem halved.
Brilliant. Lucy?
Have a conversation with somebody. Don't bury your head in the sand.
Absolutely. So I think that basically all agreed. The fact is, the best way to start solving any problem at all is to talk to someone. As always, absolute pleasure to talk to you guys. Hope you've enjoyed watching today's Business Success Conversation with Carthy Accountants, helping you get the business you want. If you enjoyed it, like, follow, subscribe, and we'll catch you next time on the next Business Success Conversation.